This episode is brought to you by EFG Holding, a trailblazing financial institution with a universal bank in Egypt and the leading investment bank franchise in frontier and emerging markets. I know that you're from Alexandria. Tell me a little bit about the environment you grew up in. What were your influences as a teenager and as you went to university? What impacted you when you were younger?
Well, I grew up in Alexandria. Alexandria was a very cosmopolitan city. My mom is an art collector, so I grew up with art. We had artists come over. My mom, not being fully Egyptian, really helped. I think this French influence made a difference because I must say French in general are very cultured. They believe in the value of culture. A lot of countries are more into other things, but French really take the time to inhale culture.
That's right. It's a very core part of their existence.
Very true,
Yeah.
even in the education.
Mhm.
So I think it's mainly organic, and the funny thing is that the more I grow, the more I see, oh my God, whatever I did or influenced me when I was younger came out later, in a funny way. So my mom would always invite their friends from France, and
Mhm.
she would always be like the guide, taking them to different cultural places. I must say that the whole community we were raised with are all half Egyptian, half something. They were all very cultured. I remember going on weekends to Domyat, Rashid, to do like those culture trips with
Yeah.
our parents and their friends, something that we don't really do now with our kids.
That's right.
Um,
Which is a big shame, I think.
very big shame.
Yeah. How did the idea of what we now understand as Art d'Egypt, with the big spectacle and the big exhibitions, the outdoor exhibitions and the gala event, tell me the origin of all this. How did this concept come to you?
The idea of promoting Egyptian art, when, of course, I talked to Sultan before he bought Egyptian
Yes.
art. I did a couple of exhibitions here and there, but it was all
Smaller scale.
smaller scale.
Yeah.
And when this idea came to mind, of course, it was a bit strange. One, for archaeologists. What is this crazy girl? She wants to put weird art because contemporary art is not really seen
Yeah.
in Egypt.
And not understood.
As what you have is usually galleries. We
Mhm.
don't really have platforms. So a gallery is a space where you have the artwork, the sculpture, the things that you would put in your home.
Yeah.
But land art or big
Installations.
installations is not really common. And I must say that at that time, Dr. Khalid Al-Anani was the Minister of Antiquities, very open-minded. He's seen what happens in the rest of the world, whether in Italy, in Venice, Cadoro, for instance, is filled with art, all those palaces, museums, in the entire world, you have this. It's not, I'm not a
Yeah.
genius. It's
Yeah.
not, I'm not really reinventing the wheel, but I was like, there's such a strong transcendence as well. One of the people that I miss also so much is Adam Hanin.
A
And
genius.
whenever we used to go and chat, and when I told him, he was the first artist I approached at that time. I told him, Adam,
Those are the last few years of his life.
yeah,
Yeah, he
I
was
told him
supremely
we're
talented.
going to exhibit at the museum. He cried. And for a very long time, he would call me the angel. And he told me the story of the Egyptian Museum.
Mm.
So when he was 8 years old, he went on a regular school trip and he fell in love with the sculptures, and he became a sculptor at that time from
That
museum,
that experience.
that experience.
Mm.
Exactly. So I felt a bit, I had a curatorial board, and then I called one of the curators, a friend of mine, Sam Bardawil, and I was like, Sam, I can't do it. I don't have the skills. He's like, Nadine, you can do it. With all your background, you can do it better than any. He gave me this push,
Yeah.
Someone else would have said no. So, and then I went to Central St. Martin's School of Art. I also took like a crash course in curating. And the professor ended up by telling me, you come and give the class. You already have, because I wanted, a reassurance that
Sure.
what I was doing was
That
right.
was the right direction.
And at that time I was all alone. I had no team. I just had a couple of people helping me and my friends. One of them, Ghena Al-Hariri, who did all the logistical part and the invitations. And I was like, I have a huge database of collectors. So
And your target at the time was Egyptians in
just
just
Egyptian
Egypt.
art, and to show the transcendence and to start getting people from around the world to come see our art in our home.
Yes. Not
And
send it abroad.
no. And at
Yeah.
that time, it was 2017 when we launched it. We were still, seen as the country that had a revolution, as the Muslim Brothers. So for me, it was an important message. And the government quickly supported that.
They understood it.
Because they said, wow, we're in Tahrir at night with all these people. I had Isabella Gianni and Louise Bourgeois, come. And I had collectors from around the world. I started thinking of a public-private partnership. So
immediately you began to think of it in that way after that first event.
That was the first step. I thought of it ASAP, the first step. That was the whole idea. The idea was also to support the museum.
Yes.
That was receiving no funds. So I went up to a company, a lighting company, Philips, and I was like, look, please, I need you to do that. I'll give you exposure. I'll put your logo. You do the lighting and it stays for the government. And of course, they sign with the government and everything. And we redid until today, the lighting of the main hall is done
by them
since that exhibition.
Yeah. And how do you come up with who you want to include in this? How do you curate?
Look, so first I think of the concept. It was Eternal Light. And I think of what I want to do curatorially and what fits.
Do you have people with you making that decision? Or
At that time, no.
No.
At that time. And then the thing is, you have artists that can relate to the curatorial statement you have. Some artists won't relate. Some artists will. And it developed along the years. So along the years now we have a curatorial board. So more than one curator on board, and international curators, of course.
And do they rotate? Do you change them with each year, with each edition?
Yes. It's not, some of them stay. Some of them are very important to me. Rose Isa, for instance, helped me make a lot of decisions in Manial, even though it was all Egyptian artists. But because she's also familiar with Iran and Lebanon, so she's familiar with our region.
Yes.
Some international curators won't understand what's culturally appropriate, what isn't. So it's very important. I cannot claim to take the decision alone. I can't do it. It's too big.
And I think you also would like to have the breadth of other opinions,
of course,
just generally.
And then you have also the historical part. You have the historical writers. So what we traditionally try to do is that at that time, and Manial had a director who was very familiar with this time in Egypt, and he also wrote an article. So you also give the research material to the artists because they're site-specific artworks.
Of course.
You don't come and say, okay, this is a nice artwork, I'll take it and install it. You actually, those artists develop the pieces, so they are site-specific. And it was very, very successful.
Yeah.
I had no PR agency. My God, all of this happened. Like the press was insane.
So that is actually a huge pivot.
Of course.
Because it was it was one event. You probably hadn't thought long term. You thought, I'll do this, help the museum. But at the time, I'm sure you didn't think, and then next year I'll do this. But it came after. Or had you already anticipated?
I wanted to take this further. And I wanted, that's why I did the company before, because I felt
that there was something there.
There was something there.
Right.
And it was so real. And I had my heart in the right place. And this is, I think, one of the most important things, is to really be honest with yourself. This is like a social enterprise. So it is a for-profit, but at the same time, I always want to have the social impact part.
I also think, Nadine, we come to a point where we bring together experiences from our previous jobs, life, whatever. And you find yourself finally in the right place where your abilities match your interest, what you love, and what is being received by people positively. It's the perfect blend of all elements coming together. And it happened at that time for you.
Definitely, because I had so many people supporting, and I believe that this is not mine. It belongs to so many people.